She inherited a kingdom on its knees. Egypt was rich, but broken. Its temples were empty, its people starving. And Rome? Rome had already taken its grain, its gold, its pride. Cleopatra VII was born in 69 BC, not as a princess of myth, but as the heir to a dynasty that had ruled Egypt for 300 years, a Greek family that spoke no Egyptian, worshipped no native gods, and cared only for one thing: survival. At 18, she became co-ruler with her 10-year-old brother, a puppet king. Within months, he tried to remove her. She was exiled. But Cleopatra didn't wait for mercy. She waited for an opportunity. And when it came, she didn't ask for help. She took it. This wasn't a story about love or beauty. It was a story about power, and how a single mind could hold an empire together while the greatest power on earth tried to break it. In 48 BC, Julius Caesar arrived in Alexandria, not to liberate Egypt, but to chase the head of his rival Pompey. The city was in chaos, the throne was split, and Cleopatra, she had no army, no allies, just her mind, so she did the unthinkable. She had herself rolled inside a bedroll, a kibotos, the kind used to carry royal treasures, and smuggled into Caesar's quarters. When the roll was unbound, she stood before him, not as a beggar, but as a ruler. The legends say she seduced him with beauty. The truth is far more intelligent. She seduced him with strategy. She showed him the grain stores of the Nile. She showed him the ports that fed Rome. She warned him, "If you leave Egypt without a strong ruler, Rome will bleed money and then blood." Caesar wasn't just a general. He was a pragmatist. He didn't sleep with her that night. He made her Queen of Egypt. He recognized that she wasn't a woman to be controlled. She was a master of statecraft. For the first time in centuries, Egypt had a leader who spoke Latin, read Greek philosophy, and knew how to play Rome's own game against it. She didn't just reclaim her throne, she secured Egypt's future by making it indispensable to its greatest threat. In 46 BC, Cleopatra arrived in Rome, not as a prisoner, but as the most powerful foreign monarch in the Republic. She lived in Caesar's villa. She paraded through the streets with her son, Caesarion, the boy rumored to be Caesar's heir, a living symbol of her connection to Rome's most powerful man. She dined with senators, she spoke Greek to poets, she negotiated tax deals with merchants. The Roman elite didn't fear her because she was beautiful. They feared her because she was more Roman than they were. While they argued over tradition, she built alliances. While they hoarded gold for personal gain, she built granaries to ensure stability. While they wrote self-serving speeches, she wrote treaties that benefited her kingdom. When Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC, Rome erupted in chaos. The men who killed him screamed about saving the Republic, but they plunged it into civil war. Cleopatra didn't cry. She left. She returned to Alexandria with her son and her court, and she waited. Because she knew one fundamental truth. Rome doesn't fear armies. It fears people who can outthink it. And in the power vacuum that followed Caesar's death, she knew new players would emerge, hungry for the resources only she could provide. In 41 BC, Mark Antony summoned her to Tarsus. As the new master of the East, he demanded she answer for her loyalty, or rather, her perceived lack of it during the Civil War. She didn't come to plead, she came to negotiate. She arrived on a golden barge with sails as purple as royalty and oarsmen dressed as sea gods. But she herself was dressed in simple white linen. No jewels, no makeup, just her eyes and her voice. This wasn't a seduction of the flesh. It was a seduction of vision. She offered him what he needed most: Egypt's grain to feed his legions, access to the lucrative Persian trade routes, and a navy that could challenge his rival, Octavian. In return, she asked for territory, Cyprus, Cilicia, and Coele-Syria, lands that would restore the Ptolemaic Kingdom to its former glory. Antony didn't fall in love that night. He made a deal. Their partnership was a strategic alliance, sealed by a marriage under Egyptian rites. When news reached Rome, it exploded. Octavian, a master of propaganda, painted her as a foreign witch, a decadent monster, a threat to Roman virtue. But the truth was far more terrifying to him. She had built a second empire, not of land, but of economy, trade, and loyalty. For the first time since Alexander the Great, Rome had a rival who didn't just fight with swords, but with balance sheets and treaties. In 31 BC, Octavian declared war, not on Antony, but on Cleopatra. This was a brilliant propaganda move. He framed the conflict not as a Roman civil war, but as a defense of Rome against a foreign enemy. He called her a traitor, a poisoner, a sorceress who had bewitched a noble Roman. But she was prepared. She had the largest navy in the Mediterranean. She controlled the grain that fed Rome. She commanded the loyalty of the East. At the naval battle of Actium, however, her fleet was outmaneuvered. Antony fled. She followed. History has painted this as a lover's flight, but it was a strategic retreat. The war wasn't lost yet. She still had a chance, if she could escape to India, ally with Parthia, or turn Rome's own hunger for grain against it. But Octavian had one weapon she couldn't outplay: propaganda. He relentlessly painted her as a monster, showing Roman citizens her treason and making them believe she would enslave them. And when she finally surrendered, trapped in Alexandria, she didn't beg. She didn't cry. She asked for one thing: let me bury Antony with honor. Then she chose her death. Not with a quick poison, but with the bite of an asp, a symbol of divine royalty. It was quiet, controlled, and final. She died at 39, not as a victim of Rome, but as its greatest adversary. Octavian had her son, Caesarion, executed. He melted her gold into Roman coins stamped with his own face. He erased her name from monuments, attempting to scrub her from history. But he couldn't erase her legacy, because Cleopatra didn't just rule Egypt. She saved it. For over 2 decades, she held it together while Rome tore itself apart in civil wars. She spoke the languages of her enemies. She understood their politics better than their own senators. She used their greed, their ambition, and their fear to keep her people fed, her temples standing, and her kingdom alive. She wasn't a seductress. She wasn't a queen of myth. She was a stateswoman, the last ruler of a civilization that had lasted 3,000 years. And when she died, Rome didn't just celebrate. It panicked. Because for the first time, they had met someone who didn't need their power to be great, someone who had her own. Cleopatra didn't fall to Rome. She outlasted its lies. And in doing so, she proved that the most dangerous force in history is not an army. It is a mind that refuses to kneel. If you've ever been told that power belongs only to a certain kind of person, remember Cleopatra. Subscribe to our channel, where we don't just glorify history's winners. We reveal the minds that outwitted them. Thanks for watching.